Hi guys, I'm Shmee, hello and welcome back to the channel where you join me on a beautiful day here in Germany visiting Novitec for a first drive in this, the Novitec F8 Tributo N-Largo. Limited to only 15 units, based on the Ferrari F8 Tributo, but it is wider, it is meaner, it is louder, it is faster, and today we will go through all of the modifications that Novitec have made, the full package if you will, in their most extreme limited edition version of the car, before in a short while I'll be getting behind the wheel to go for a drive to experience the sound and see what this is like out on the road, and believe me, I cannot wait. Today is all about the Novitec F8 Tributo N-Largo. The first observation then with this Novitec's F8 Tributo N-Largo is how different it looks to the standard car on which it's based, the Ferrari F8 Tributo. Now the N-Largo cars from Novitec are the height of exclusivity, limited in this case to just 15 units, but completely overhauled, redesigned, new bodywork like the bumpers, the arches, a lot around the rear. We're going to take a look at something completely unique that they have done at the back of this in a moment. We also have new wheels, a new exhaust system, we have more power, and of course we have an incredible soundtrack that we'll experience a lot of today. We're also in some pretty good company here, it has to be said, and I'm always fascinated by these. If you're not aware of what these are, they are effectively for long-term car storage. They have these rooms with solar panels on the roof that rotate during the day to keep cars on charge, and of course being summer with beautiful weather they are currently empty as all of the cars are out, but we are here today to explore this, the F8 Tributo N-Largo, and I want to show you what I mean back here that you might not have seen before. Have a look at this for the engine bay cover. They've kept it completely open, yet still with the intake snorkel that brings in the cool air, and I'll explain how this works in a moment, but fundamentally this is a very mean looking car. The N-Largo cars always have been. It's something quite unique. It is something that stands out. It is in this case significantly wider than standard. In fact, the F8 Tributo N-Largo sits 7 centimeters wider than the standard car at the front and 13 centimeters wider than standard at the rear. Of course we have new carbon fiber bodywork, and you can see this is a completely different look to the standard car. Completely new bumper. The headlights no longer have these openings. Instead you have almost a different face of the car by the change that they've done with this design. In addition, we have the S-duct carbon installation piece there. We have the extra carbon fiber front splitters around the corners. We've got the new wheels, the concave N-Largo wheels, 21-inch at the front, 22-inch at the rear. These much wider fenders than standard with the integrated louvres, all one piece, so you don't feel any lip to the paintwork change with the exposed carbon for the louvres. And then these mirrors, very motorsport-esque, this new mirror design they've created for the car, totally unique as well. I think those look really awesome, and plenty more carbon parts you notice around. For example, the triangle inserts there at the A-pillars, the door handles, we've got the carbon side skirts as well. We've got these very, very wide rear arches sitting a little bit taller with the intake and the cooling coming in through there, and then around towards the back, that very wide, very aggressive look. We've got a new exhaust system, as I mentioned. We've got sports caps in this, we've got a valve control system. It sounds phenomenal. We've also got the carbon fiber diffuser. We've got this totally new integrated lip wing back here, this ducktail that curves up, full carbon fiber, and then the two parts here which make up the rear compartment, the engine bay cover you could say. Now you might be wondering, what do you do here if it rains? Well, long story short, it doesn't matter. It drains straight on through. But the idea, of course, is that the air is caught, comes through here, and then you get cold air, basically keeping the engine cool in its, when you're out driving, we could say, because this makes a lot of power. In fact, that 3.9 litre twin turbocharged V8 in stock form makes 720 horsepower. In this, it makes 818, so up 98 horsepower. Torque goes up from 770 newton meters all the way to 903, 133 newton meters more than standard. And of course, all of that is going through a 7-speed dual clutch gearbox to the rear wheels. So it could make for quite a leery drive, I think we could say, over 800 horsepower in this. As I said, only 15 of them, seriously exclusive stuff. Let's come take a look inside very quickly. We have the familiar interior, the sport seats, the carbon fiber LED driver zone, but it's going to be quite the drive in a moment. For the time being, let me take a seat on board, because I think we should get this started up. We've got the key for the car just in the central console. wake it up, turn on the ignition. Let's get ready to start this and have a listen. Sounds good. Warm start. The car's already been running. Yeah. Gonna leave it a while before we have the full fun, we could say, but we'll head out onto the road to experience what this is like then, to get a first feel in the Novitec F8 Tributo N-Largo. Let's do this then. F8 Tributo N-Largo time. Now, on my previous visit here at Novitec, I drove the 812 GTS N-Largo with the fantastic V12 soundtrack. Now, this is a very different car, but when I drove the F8 Tributo, well, a couple of times before, the F8 Tributo and the F8 Spider, I felt that the car is very much the dailyable mid-engined supercar. Now, that's a slightly ironic phrase because a mid-engined supercar shouldn't really be a dailyable car, but it's very soft, it's very gentle, it's very easygoing, and I think this is probably going to add a little bit of spice back into the mix. So that's what it's about experiencing today. Let's go into sport. In fact, let's start with the valves closed. There we go. That got significantly quieter. We are in automatic. We're in sport mode. You can go down into wet as well, but a nice gentle cruise on out. We'll go through the town and then to go find a nice road on which to enjoy driving this car and get a feel for what it's all about. And like this, I'm being very aware that it's incredibly low to the ground, of course. We're sitting lower than standard, and we've got the carbon fiber front splitter, for example, as well. So just need to watch out through some of the little dips that we have around. But when we get to a nice bit of tarmac, which there is plenty of here in Germany, we can start driving manually and enjoy it a little bit more. Like this, I'm aware that it's a wide car, you know, I'm aware that it's a fairly large thing on the road. I don't think it was ever going to feel tiny, just a quick mirror adjustment, but it doesn't feel intimidating. Like the 812, it doesn't feel all that terrifying and scary initially. Just driving along gently with that slightly muted V8 sound. Obviously we've got the turbocharged engine, plus we've got the valves closed, and like this, it's not antisocial in the slightest. That's one of the fun things, because when we get this out of town onto the open roads, the character is going to change dramatically. Dramatically is possibly even an understatement. It will become like a totally different car. But cruising along, if I go into wet actually, it then forces the softest suspension mode, and everything is very, very, very chill as we just cruise through town here. Shuffle the seatbelt, rattling slightly against the edge of the car there. See around the corner. Yeah, this is just wisping along without any stress in the world before we get ready for the fun to begin in just a second. So let's pop the car up into race mode. Let's grab the exhaust valve switch, open that. Let's press auto, drop down fifth, fourth, third, second. Oh, the steering feels good. The car is super, super planted. Low in the revs, it's not the loudest thing in the world. Obviously we're in the coupe. If they make the Spider at some point, that will give more sense of drama. Gosh, you feel like you could get down the road very, very, very quickly in here. Like, very quickly. The shifts feel sharp. They give you that instant response. There's no waiting for it. And you've got a bit of a fizz as well, which I suppose will be the airflow being pulled in over the top. And then we get back towards the open road, drop it down to second gear again. I'm barely using any of the power because of course this is a new car, and also I'm conscious that over 800 horsepower to the rear wheels is a lot from my experience to date. You want to be a little bit conscious of it and not go completely crazy. But even with the exhaust valves opened, it's not mentally loud. Now I haven't yet opened the window, and I apologise for any wind noise, just to hear a bit more sound of it. Gosh, it feels like this car would fly down these kind of roads if you wanted to. it would really, really get a move on. It is the dailyable supercar, honestly. It's almost like it's softened up from the 488 GTB ahead of the arrival of the SF90, being a little bit more of the traditional mid-engined supercar feel, let's say. But down a nice road like this, in a car like this, is almost perfect. Absolute delight. What a place to drive something like this. Almost want to take the racing line and have a good time with it. Oh, this is just epic fun. This is epic fun. I think this car could have got away with being a touch louder, to be honest, but obviously turbocharged generation, it's harder to get that sharpness, that tone, that pitch. The system is a little bit more complicated than just a back box. There are a few components that have been changed to make what we have in this car. Oh, what a day, what a place to drive. Part of me wants to just boot the car a little bit, but I think we need to respect that it's fairly new. One thing that's unusual driving though is with the very big ducktail behind and the roof snorkel up top, you have very limited visibility behind you, like this small slither that you can see through. Oh, this is such a cool place to be driving. Through the hills, the flowing, smooth tarmac. For a car like this, it is just perfect. I would basically want to keep a car here in one of those storage boxes and just come down to drive it around here every now and then. Just go out for the fun of it. Through the trees, these nice twisty roads, meandering across the countryside. I hope that this is something we're going to be able to keep doing forever. Just enjoying driving for enjoyment's sake, not just, let's say, an autonomous electric daily commute, because there's so much more to it, so much more to it. Oh, this is heavenly. What a beautiful day. There's this lovely blip that you get from the shifts in this car. When the revs are lift, they match into the next gear, and then you get all of that air being sucked in when you're accelerating. It sits completely flat and planted. As you can tell, I'm really quite enjoying this drive. Do you know what? Compared to the 812 GTS N-Largo, it's nothing like the extreme, all-encompassing sound of that car. It's obviously a rawer drive from the point of view that you're sat right up towards the front wheels, the windscreen is going down towards the tarmac in front of you, you know, there's an engine behind you as opposed to up in front of you. But the sound obviously is a completely different thing. It's not the same. A twin turbocharged V8 will never sound like a naturally aspirated V12. All I say is long live the Ferrari V12s, because that noise is to die for, to be completely honest. This is a normal, great sound. It's just all relative to what you're comparing it to. And then on the other extremes, back into auto, back into wet mode, back into exhaust valve closed. Take it easy, nice and chill. And the car shows its other character, and I'll head back to base. While the engine is still warm then, we'd better take a listen to this, both with the valves opened and closed. Firstly though, we will have a start up from the car, valves open. Let's take a listen. You see, that sounds significantly better than the standard Ferrari F8 exhaust. And then when you close the valves, you can hear the difference. Oh, you can hear it instantly. Just even the sound at idle makes a huge, huge, huge difference. So we're closed at the moment, and you can hear it's a little bit more muted. And then when it's open, the mad sound out of it. It's interesting, even when the valves are actually technically closed, if you rev, it still almost revs through and opens, obviously for the airflow. And for performance purposes it needs to, but it just means you can idle it. That's in full open mode. You can idle it around town, for example, without it being quite so loud. Sounds good, doesn't it? Sounds really good. Having now heard it from the outside, it is safe to say that that sounds much better. It's a thing that's happening really as the market develops. Cars like this, where traditionally Ferrari's mid-engine V8 supercar would have been really quite hardcore and extreme, are now improving in terms of sound deadening, in terms of comfort features, and it means it is, as I said earlier, much more dailyable as a result. But what you get here with the Novitec N-Largo is of course something much more exclusive than the standard car, much more aggressive in terms of the appearance, and in some ways bridges a bit of the gap between the F8 Tributo and Spider and the SF90 Stradale and Spider as well. Obviously that being a hybrid and quite a different proposition at the end of the day. What they've done with this though is a fair departure from previous N-Largo models. It's quite different, having this redesigned look around the headlights, having these louvres integrated into the fender panel, having the new mirrors, having the lip back here as opposed to having a big wing stuck on the back as well. But of course traditional in the sense of being lower, being wider, being noisier, and adding the power as well through the N-tronic unit, giving it that extra boost of about 100 horsepower, and a car that on the roads I've just been driving was absolutely brilliant. Anybody who could possibly say otherwise is not thinking straight, because an 800 horsepower rear-wheel drive Novitec Ferrari on a nice road here in Germany on a beautiful day, and who am I to complain? That was pretty fantastic. Now the 15 of these are all sold, of course, very limited with Novitec's customers. They do have other tuning programs and packages available for the F8 amongst other models too, but as always, a brilliant trip to come out here to experience something really stand out, and just, yeah, a great day. So thank you very much for watching. As always guys, I appreciate your support an awful lot, and a huge thanks here to Novitec as well for the opportunity to take a first drive in the F8 Tributo N-Largo. That's it for now. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again very soon. Cheers.